we're going to be declaring a ground invasion of Gaza.
Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages.
After New York Times clarified that the Gazan boy that they wrote about in their hunger article actually was suffering from a genetic disease. He wasn't starving to death, he had a genetic problem. Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu saying, we're going in, basically. We're going to be declaring a ground invasion of Gaza. He said it's the best way to end the war. And this came out yesterday. He gave a full press conference on this. He had charts. He was explaining a bunch of things. But this is the clip that's capturing a lot of attention. It's, oh, so you're going to go in and you're going to have an Arab authority or something that's going to be in favor of Israel. So does that mean you're kind of de facto in control of the region or what? But here's what he said.
Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages. Gaza will be demilitarized.
I think that was a Freudian slip. He said, like, Gaza needs to lay down their arms. I mean, Hamas.
Israel will have overriding security responsibility. A security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. You
mean like the last one you guys had before 10/7 happened?
Civilian administration will be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel. That's our plan for the day after Hamas. And let me summarize it. 5 principles for concluding the war. 1, Hamas disarmed. 2nd, all hostages freed. 3rd, Gaza demilitarized. 4th, Israel has overriding security control. And 5, non-Israeli peaceful civilian administration. By that I mean a civilian administration that doesn't educate its children for terror, doesn't pay terrorists, and doesn't launch terrorist attacks against Israel. That's what we want to see in Gaza.
Okay, so that means that, I mean, that gives them a lot of like subjectivity into who can be in charge of that government, right? Like, are you, so, all right, you're going to be like focusing on educational curriculum of who's coming in and all that stuff. So it seems like it's just a token handoff. It seems like what is happening is Israel wants to take over the entire region, which is obviously what they're doing. Now they're going to come out and say, well, it's just all, oh, it's just Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. But essentially, from what it looks like from our perspective, all of Gaza is considered Hamas, all of it. Every single person there, regardless of whether they are or not, is being treated like Hamas. So I think it's pretty obvious what they want to do. And if they want to say it's up to the other side to conclude the war, and by the way, it's Israel's country and they can do what they need to do to secure themselves. The next question, of course, that we're thinking about, the reason why we're talking about this, is because what does this mean for the United States and our involvement? What do we have to do to support Israel in this effort? What's going to happen to the 2 million people who are apparently there that are now going to be under non-Israeli peaceful civil administration, all those things. So, but the Israelis moving forward on it and not even mincing words about it, saying, well, ground invasion is what's going to happen. It's going to be ours. And we know that, you know, there's history for that. I think the last time there was a war, or, you know, there's been a lot of wars there, but, you know, Israel was, I think, granted certain lands, and then there was a war, and then they expanded, and then they kept, they kept that after the war. And so it's part of, I think, a pattern where we can see that after the conclusion of this conflict, they'll probably hold on to all the land and it's going to be ultimately theirs. So that came out from there. Now we've also got a little bit of a back and forth on this. So the media, it's really hard to understand what's going on over there, quite frankly, because the media is dishonest. Our politicians are dishonest. Most of them are bought off by some entity somewhere. And so you can't really ever understand what's actually going on or what the truth is. Are they starving to death? Is Israel bombing civilians or kids getting shot in the head and so on and so forth? There's a lot of evidence on both sides saying that it is happening and other evidence saying it's not happening and so on. And this was an article that came down from jns.org, and they wrote from JNS, and I believe this is an Israeli or Jewish organization. Let's see. Yeah, Israel, Jerusalem Minute, The Quad, Think Twice, True East. So I think it's probably highly in favor of Israel. But so they wrote this. They said, unknown individuals spray painted buildings hours after the paper amended a controversial report. So the New York Times wrote a story saying that kids were starving over there, and then they had to retract it. So anti-Israel activists, so-called, okay, these people are maniacs, the New York Times building being vandalized. Like, I don't know what's going on right there, but anti-Israel activists have vandalized the entrance after New York Times clarified that the Gazan boy that they wrote about in their hunger article actually was suffering from a genetic disease. He wasn't starving to death. He had a genetic problem. What? The graffiti appeared hours after the New York Times issued an editor's note amending the article. They wrote in July, Gazans are dying of starvation. 5 days after the publication, they said, well, its story referenced a Gazan boy, Mohammed Zakaria, this guy, suffering from severe malnutrition, but they later learned from his doctor and the medical records that he had pre-existing health conditions. Now, the Times credited the photographer for the images. Media Watchdog highlighted previous posts. And so the New York Times corrected it. Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Mikhail Leiter, sharply criticized the New York Times on social media. In an ex post overnight, he said the New York Times spread a lie about Israel and what to do when they were caught. Almost a week later, they shared a partial and weak correction. And here's what the ambassador said. Now, I'm curious about, like, was that the only boy they talked about in the article? Somehow I doubt it. But here, let's see what the article actually said. Yeah, there's other people who were starving. So Atef Abu Kader was healthy before being gripped by war. Here's another one. He's not responding to the treatment. From Aid Abu Qatar. Gaza's hospitals have struggled. Now, according to doctors, increased number of their patients are dying from starvation. So there's no one in Gaza now outside the scope of famine, not even myself. I'm speaking to you as a health official, but I too am searching for flour to feed my family. Okay, lots of bad pictures. The World Food Program saying that there's a hunger crisis in Gaza. It's new and astonishing levels. Said a number of children are dying from malnutrition, and that's risen. He described harrowing scenes of people too exhausted to walk. Many children he sees have no pre-existing medical conditions, he said. After 21 months of conflict, the health ministry reported more than 40 hunger-related deaths. 111 have started dying from hunger, according to them. So you can see some of the conditions over there. Hollow-eyed skeletal children. So this is what the New York Times reported. So there's a bunch of other kids. It's just not like the one kid. Maybe the one kid, maybe that one, was diagnosed with severe malnutrition. And let's see if we can find that correction. So in other words, it's not just about one dude. This article has been updated to include information about Mohammed, a child in Gaza. After publication, the Times learned from his doctor that he also had pre-existing health problems. All right. So Mohammed, I think, is one of many who is having a difficult time, obviously, over there. So we'll see what the Israeli plan is for their ground invasion and how that's going to stop if it's ultimately happening. Now, Bernie Sanders was asked about this. He says, does Hamas have anything to do with these people starving to death, Bernie?
Would you say Hamas has some culpability in people starving?
No.
Why? When they spent so much money building tunnels and everything under
so right now, what is going on is a slaughter, all right? And right now, Israel is, with...
Interesting. So that's percolating on the left.